Everybody, we're live. It's Dave and Darren here to talk about the Minnesota Vikings who just traveled out to LA to play the Chargers in that big, beautiful SoFi Stadium. We're going to get ready to get this show started, so keep with us. Everybody, thanks for joining us today as we talk your Minnesota Vikings as they meet up with that bolt-up team, the Los Angeles Chargers at SoFi Stadium. But first, Darren, my partner in crime here, half of the two old bloggers that's been blogging for decades. How you doing, buddy?
Not bad, David. Yourself on this fine Saturday afternoon?
I am enjoying
it's a little warmer.
I'm enjoying
warmer it. Where you are than me, my place, but anyway.
Oh, well, how much warmer am I?
Sorry, you'll have to do the Fahrenheit Celsius conversion. It's not too bad. It's only like -3 Celsius here today.
Okay,
but the snow is on freezing. The ground. Yeah, yeah.
All right, yeah. Where we're hitting around 70 today down here in Austin. It feels chilly.
Oh, you poor thing.
I know.
You poor thing.
70 Fahrenheit. So,
yeah.
So it's quite pleasant. But
yes.
Speaking of, Wayne's got 76 there in Vegas. Good for you, Wayne. Speaking of pleasantries, we have a game to discuss. And in this one, you wanted to go over a few different things. So we will start switching scenes and we get our normal graphics up. Let's first talk about the ratings. I think that was first on your list.
Yeah, well, I think that's kind of been like a common start for the show of late. We get the old rankings up there, kind of see where everything lands. And
here we got the Vikings offense versus the Chargers defense. Anything of
note? A bit of a Yes, well, the big thing to note here is that I think for overall is that neither unit is all that great hell. A little bit surprised again to see Football Focus has got our offense ranked at 11th. They have been watching. Somebody's been watching the Vikings games lately, and somehow they still have us ranked 11th. I would say that if you'd looked at the Vikings offense performance the last two games, you'd have a hard time figuring they were almost a top 10 offense. But that's what PFF has got. I think the big thing that really to look at here is the Chargers defense. Big weakness is the run defense, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, any way you slice it through all the rankings, they've got pretty low rankings in rush defense, kind of like another team we know
Yes.
quite
We'll get
well.
there on the next
But
slide. Yes.
yeah,
Next slide.
but if you go by Football Outsiders, and even if you've again watched the Vikings games, uh, our run offense has not been as effective as we expected coming into the season. Dalvin Cook's been a little bit less effective, and he's been banged up a bit. The Vikings run blocking, which was a strength last year, has been a big weakness this year, and so. Will the Vikings be able to capitalize on the Chargers' inability to stop the run? The fact that our run offense is not as strong as we expected, and a lot of the rankings say that brings it into question. That's the big thing. The other thing on the offense defense is that our pass offense is ranked pretty high, but the Chargers pass defense is also ranked pretty high. So another situation of the Vikings' strength on offense is also the Chargers' defensive strength,
Strength.
and then the Vikings' offensive weakness is the Chargers' defensive weakness. So a real tough one to see. Going to be a big test here for which team can kind of right those wrongs and take advantage of which offense and which defense can take advantage of the other
Mm-hmm.
of
And
each other's
speaking of which,
weaknesses.
here's the flipped graphic where our defense ranks and where the Chargers offense ranks. And you were just talking
Yes,
about
the
they've got a strong run game and we've got a weak run defense for a myriad of reasons. One of them we'll get to in the injury report.
yeah,
Hey,
and
Steven.
yeah, and you can Stephen from Australia showing up again. I think it's Sunday there now, like Sunday
Yeah.
at
Sean
like
talked about a huge spread between running and passing D. Yes. And it's for both defenses.
Yeah, again, the PFS has our defense ranked 10th in the league. Football Outsiders also likes our defense, but if you look at the Elias, the counting stats, they are not as impressed with
Nope.
our defense. And I think that that's kind of been I the analytics stuff and the ranking stuff. There's always some stuff that some of the rankings, some of their metrics for your teams. There's some things that you always say, "Yep, that's correct, that's bang on," and there's always some things where it really raises your eyebrows. And our defensive ranking there for both PFF and Football Outsiders raises eyebrows with me because while the Vikings defense at times has looked really good, at other times it's looked just like last year's defense, particularly on the run side of the things. And we seem to shut teams down for a short, a couple of quarters or one quarter or a half, and then we let them run and gain a
Mm-hmm.
whole bunch of yards, score a whole bunch of points on us. The rest of the time, it's a very Jekyll and Hyde kind of defense, and I don't think that there's anything there that suggests to me that our defense is all that.
Well,
Yeah,
now, even, all right, each of these three systems, Elias uses straight data numbers, right?
yeah,
PFF and Football Outsiders use their algorithms and they weight certain things differently, right, to come up with their scores. We're second in sacks with 27, right?
yep,
And we were real high with not giving away sacks on the offensive side. It's
yes,
that may be weighed higher in Football Outsiders than it is in PFF. Or PFF, especially when we talk about the Vikings offense, Dr. Eric Eager says all the time, they are doing what they are asked to do, especially when he talks about Kirk Cousins. He does what he is asked to do most of the time. And if he completes a 2-yard check down to CJ Ham, that's a positive play, right? So his score goes up, drives us absolutely insane, and we yell at the TV, but it is a positive score in their system. And that's where I see how these numbers differ, right? Where you can sit there and go, yeah, I can see, if you know how they do it, you can go, yeah, I can see that great. But that doesn't, my eyeball says these guys aren't, as in this graphic says, a number 10th ranked defense. Because we give up, a lot of points. We always let the team get back into the game, and we're struggling at the end to catch up and win. And most of the time we haven't. And it's done it for every game except for one this season. And how can you be such a good defense if all these games are so close? That's what I get from these. Now, there's one more slide, of course.
There is special teams.
Special teams. We moved up in Football Outsiders as of last week, and the Chargers stayed the same. They literally have the worst special teams from kicker on to all the other coverage in the NFL, which means probably tomorrow they're going to have an outstanding day and hit everything that's put in front of them. That's just the way it goes. No. Get ready for
it. Exactly, Dave. Yeah, like I read Mike Tanier on Football Outsiders walkthrough said something along the lines of like the Chargers have a big time kicking problems this year, but opponents of the Vikings have some an uncanny the kickers of Viking kickers that Vikings face have an uncanny ability to like nail every kick that when they play us. And I'm not expecting it to be much different tomorrow, but yeah, you look at the Vikings special teams rankings. We're very low on Football Outsiders 2 or 3 weeks ago as well. I think we were ranked 30th or 31st or 29th. We were low, and that was because Joseph was missing some key kicks, I think,
right.
And we weren't getting anything in the return game. Well, last week we Keenan Wangu returns the kick 96 yards for a touchdown. We had a fake punt that he also got for a 9-yard gain and a first down. And Joseph hasn't missed any kicks the last 2 weeks. Our punt and kickoff coverage has been very consistent, very strong all year. Barry's been a pretty, done very well as a punter. So I think, really was in the kickoff return game, and the fact that Joseph was missing, too many kicks. He's righted that the past couple of weeks. Hasn't kicked a lot of long field goals either, but I think that's why our ranking is going up a bit. And the Chargers, as you say, they haven't improved at all. That could be a big, a significant advantage for the Vikings. Especially, I don't know how good the Chargers kickoff and particularly its kickoff coverage has been, and I don't know how often their kicker gets free kicks, which I think that the Chargers special teams coach is going to be saying, buddy, to his kicker, whatever you do, don't kick it to that Wangu guy. I think that's probably going to be the instructions he's going to get after what they watched last
week. And we'll get more into Keenan later in the show. Now,
we will.
Next, you wanted to talk about, well, first, one more slide.
Ooh.
Injuries. The injury report. Isn't that ugly?
Yeah, and it's not even injuries for the Vikings. It's
for
COVID,
most of the Vikings, you can see is listed as COVID. And we can probably, because we're the Minnesota Vikings, expect more of that tomorrow morning as we get ready for the game. We hear a tweet of, oh, shit. And then we're like, who's out now? Who tested positive? That could very well happen. It could happen for us and the Chargers. Chargers do have one player out, Drew Tranquil. What a name. Tranquil. So calm and sweet. I'm a linebacker. Drew Tranquil. It's not a name for a linebacker.
Maybe not, but he is a starter for them. So
he is a starter for them. And just so people know, I started adding ones and twos. There's no threes on here. One is a starter per their depth chart. So you can have two CB1s because there's two cornerbacks, right? A two is immediate backup. So as you can see here, they've got a lot of starters that are on there. Michael Davis at cornerback is doubtful. Most likely he did not practice at all last week. And you have running back Justin Jackson, who is their Alexander Madison version, is doubtful as well. Safety Nasir Adderley is questionable. That's a big one when it comes to passing for us. Now for them passing, Keenan Allen, who is their wide receiver 1 or 2 normally. He's the other starter when they go with a 2 set. He is also questionable. And what's good for the Vikings offense, if he does not play, is Joey Bosa, who's an outside linebacker. Got him listed as edge. Obviously, Joey. Everybody knows Joey and how good he is. He would have paired up against Brian O'Neill. So, should be
good and relentless.
Mm-hmm. Now, for us, we know we got the signal caller on the defense out, Barr. Pierce is out again, which makes me wonder what in the heck did he do to his elbow?
And, 5 straight games, and they didn't put him on the IR.
Which tells you the medical team was saying it's nothing major. Because if it was major, they would have put him on the IR. And
exactly. So it's kind of been like a week-to-week thing where they're thinking, oh, he's going to come back this week. He's going to come back this week. And he hasn't been coming back for 5 weeks now.
Right, which means they blew
he didn't even practice.
Yeah, they blew the prognosis at the beginning. And it's not the first time, and I'm sure it won't be the last. Now, Brashad Breeland being questionable. This one's a little intriguing. I don't know how well he's going to play. I'm trying to remember what his injury was. It was like
it's a groin injury. It's a groin. Yeah.
And well, as long as he keeps it warm.
Not a good one for a position where you need to run a lot. Although that's most positions in football.
Right. Run and make jerky movements as you're swiveling your hips and trying to turn and stuff like that. Yes, it's not a good one.
No.
But the easiest way for a groin is never let it get cold. Once you start playing, keep it moving, because if you sit and that sucker tightens up, you're done.
I guess he'll be on the bike a lot if he plays then, between when he's not actually playing.
That's generally how that one's treated. If he actually does play, we shall see. Now we go
I'm thinking no for Breeland, actually. I'm not expecting him to be out there.
Probably. Well, let's look at the Chargers. Let's look at their offense. It's basically got a 4-headed monster. You have Herbert, who's the young, up-and-coming franchise quarterback that everybody drools over. He's the perfect size. I think he's 6'6". He's got a strong arm. He's doing it. He was well above what was expected out of the draft. He's playing. And he's doing great. And he throws to Keenan Allen, and he throws to Mike Williams. And he has Austin Ekeler in the backfield, who is a shifty little back. Austin Ekeler is the type that if you give him 6 inches, he swivels to his side and he squeezes through the hole. And those can be extremely frustrating. What do you think of these guys?
Well, I love the first guy I was going to point out was you mentioned him last, was Austin Ekeler. I've always liked him. One of his problems has been, he's listed at 5'10" and 200 pounds. He's probably I don't know, most of those weights, they get them in high school and they never change them. So, but I don't think he's much, he's probably not much more than 200 pounds, but he's packed on a bit of muscle since the high school days, I'm sure. But like you said, he's not a big back, very shifty, great pass catcher out of the backfield, like one of those running backs that you'd love the Vikings to have, right? He's a dual threat kind of guy. Well, no, let's face it, Dalvin Cook is a dual threat as well,
Right.
and a very good one. But Ekeler is one of those guys where he's now the full-time dude. In previous years, he was a part-time guy. He was, he'd time share with Gordon. Gordon's gone, but he's been very effective as a runner this year. I think he's averaging 4.8, 4.7 yards a pop, and he's got over 30 catches out of the backfield, so they throw to him a lot. And he's a guy that, again, like you said, he doesn't need a whole lot of room. He's a small guy, so he's hard to find when the big uglies get out pulling, and where are you going to find this guy? He's just going to quick pops out. You can't find him. All of a sudden, he spurts through a hole and he's gone. He's going to be a big problem for the Vikings, because not a physical, going to knock over guys, but if you can't get a hold of him in the first place, then it doesn't really matter. And with the Vikings' struggles in the run game all year, he's going to be a significant problem for us. And again, it's not just on stopping him in the run game; it's also that he's very dangerous out of the pass. So, a little bit of if we lose sight of him, you don't have Barb playing today or tomorrow for sure. Who's going to account for him out of the backfield? Big issue. Keenan Allen is the guy. He's the high volume pass catcher dude. He's got 50 catches this year, but his average per catch is like around 10, just over 10. So he's not but he's the guy who catches the first down, second down catches, moves the chains. Probably not a huge deep threat, but he's a guy who usually catches everything that you throw his way, and they throw to him a lot.
He catches first
Mike
downs.
Williams, yeah, and Mike Williams he started off the year at gangbusters, really doing well. I watched him in the Cleveland game, and he killed the Browns in that game. But he's a guy. I think he's 6'4", listed at 230 or something like that. So he's tight end size, but he's their deep. He's the guy that Herbert's going to throw the deep balls to, and he's the guy that he's got the speed to run by you if he has to, but he can win those 50-50 jump balls against the shorter DBs, can box you out in red zone, end zone type throws. And the other thing that Herbert does is he'll just chuck it up there to Williams, and even if he's not open, and figure, well, he'll get the 50-50, or the defensive back will panic, and it'll be a pass interception, and we'll get 40-50 yards anyway. Right. So they are those three guys, Ekeler, Allen, and Williams, are a significant trio, and one that you have to account for. And they're the guys that, if they're really on and having big days, it's going to be a long day for the Vikings defense. The other thing
can this defense hold this offense, and how many points? Can they hold them under 30? Can our defense hold these guys?
I'm hoping, but I think the question is, can the Vikings defense play a full 60 minutes and play well, fundamentally sound, tackle well, get off the field consistently for 60 minutes? They do it for stretches. They shut down offenses for stretches, but then they go through stretches like I was saying early in the game, where it's like touchdown, just
long drives, and they get gassed, and our offense comes out and does them no favor.
That's right. Yeah, like last week and other weeks. I think it's going to be. I can see the Vikings holding them to like the high 20s, but I think expecting the Vikings to hold them to like 20, in the low 20s, where I think
20, 21 points.
I think that's going to be harder. And Herbert he's been sacked 14 times this year. That's not a lot. He's very mobile, even though he's 6'6". So he's not just, he's another mobile quarterback who can escape the rush. You think you got him, then you don't have him. And like Lamar Jackson, like Kyler Murray, like Russell Wilson, we faced all of those guys this year. And Herbert's another one of those guys. Again, strong arm. He'll throw the ball. He can make all the throws. Mobile, not getting sacked much, so I don't think that's all him. The Chargers' offensive line this year, unlike other years, is ranked pretty well this year, and their rookie left tackle Rashawn Slater picked a few picks before our left tackle Christian Darrisaw. He's been doing very well this year. I watched him go up against Myles Garrett in that wild Cleveland Chargers game, and he held up really well against Garrett, who's right now the best defensive end in the National Football League, like all the announcers like to say. I don't think the Vikings can hold the Chargers to under 30, and with the way our offense has been playing of late, that spells big trouble for the Vikings.
Mary asked, is Justin Herbert a better quarterback than our very own Mr. Clutch, Kirk Cousins?
Yes, but it's not a big difference now. The thing that where Herbert separates himself from Kirk, and that's a lot of quarterbacks do, is that he can make something out of nothing. He can scramble. He can avoid the pass rush. Whereas if Kirk doesn't get optimum pass protection, it's a bigger problem for Cousins.
And everything goes exactly as it's diagrammed. Yes, you are 100% correct. And who would you rather have in the future?
Well, yes, yeah.
Herbert or Cousins? And that answer, I think, is easy for all of us if we had the choice.
Well, yes, and we don't have the choice. But yeah, Herbert's like 10 years younger than Kirk, and he's just as good now as Cousins is, probably a little bit better. So yeah, obviously it'd be a hell yeah to getting Herbert over Cousins if you had the choice.
Mm-hmm.
Somehow I don't think the Chargers are giving him away.
I don't think so either. All right, next we move on to the Vikings offense, and we bring up this young fellow, and I say that disparagingly. Clint Kubiak, spawn of Gary, has been our offensive coordinator this year. And the question I ask in the title of this video is he over his head and his abilities?
It sure looks that way, Dave. And I don't know. It feels like right now I'm going to look into the camera here, and I know Clint isn't listening, but I'm going to have a heart-to-heart with Clint right now. Clint, I know people think you suck right now. You're probably getting a lot of hate mail. We used to say hate mail, us older guys, but it's hate email now, I suppose, or hate social media, hate tweets and hate Facebook posts and hate Instagram folks. But Clint, it's been a rough go right now. Your offense we had concerns about you coming into the season. You have not diminished those concerns. Actually, they've grown over the past few weeks. Your offense looks great on the first drive, and then after that, it's like 3 and out, 3 and out, 3 and out, punt, 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 punt. Conservative play calling. When I can call out the plays that you're going to run before you run them, I'm thinking the defense also is doing that. And the results on a lot of our offensive drives in most of the games this year, for large stretches of those games, indicates that I am correct. The defense knows exactly what you're going to do. You're not fooling them. You're not doing anything out of the ordinary. You're not using our offensive weapons to the best of their ability. Clint, I beg of you, as a Vikings fan, long-suffering one, figure this out. You were never a coordinator at any level until this year. You were given this big job, and you are failing at it at this point. So for your future in the coaching profession, this may be the only shot you get at being a coordinator. in the NFL. You need to, for these next 8 games, you need to reverse whatever the hell's been going on with your offense and make the Vikings offense the top 10 unit that it was last year. Well, we weren't top 10, we were 11th, but details. Let's not get hung up on them. The point I'm making here is the offense under you has regressed terribly. And if you want to continue to be an offensive coordinator at the NFL level, or maybe even a head coach someday, like your dad was, and win a Super Bowl, it's not going to happen if you don't get this offense right starting this week against the Chargers. So, Clint, this is my call to you to get this right, figure it out somehow. You've got good players, can't use that as an excuse. So it's got to be the coaching, right? You've got an opportunity here to be the next Kevin Stefanski or the next Sean McVay, like the offensive hotshot. If you can get this right, turn this offense into the explosive offense we all Viking fans want to see, and have us go on a big win streak. Maybe you'll even get a head coaching job next year if that happens. You'll at least be the offensive coordinator probably for somebody again after that. But if things keep going the way they're going right now, you'll be at Northern Iowa next year as a special teams coach. Maybe.
Very good. Very good. I hope he listens. I hope somebody in the organization gets him that, because it comes obviously from your heart and from the heart of all fans. Very well done. Now, with that, how can we get a spark on offense? What's your proposition? What's one way that we might be able to do that?
Well, we've got this rookie running back named Kene Wangu, and we all know that he very fast, but was little used at Iowa State. I think he only had like 130 carries. Let me check that. I got his college stats up here. Sorry, 143 carries at Iowa State in 4 years. But he ran an unofficial 4.2840 at his pro day last year. Regardless, which would have been the 10th fastest 40 time in NFL history going into the draft if it had been official at the combine. Anyway, no matter how you slice it, the guy is very fast. And
most players on the team thinks he's the fastest player on the team by far.
Oh, he's got to be. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And, had one kickoff return in preseason, hyperextended his knee, and he was never seen from again. But last week against the Ravens, we finally got a chance to see him. He was returning kicks against Dallas, but he never got a chance to return any because they were all, touchbacks by the Cowboys and the kickoffs that he got. So last week, 2 kickoff returns. One of them, he goes 96 yards takes it to the house. They also gave him, again, we mentioned earlier, he had the fake punt, gets a 9-yard gain out of that. What you saw out of those 2 plays, Dave, was that speed. The kickoff return, again, some guys had some angles on them. Now, one of them was Justin Tucker. So I can outrun Justin Tucker probably. So maybe that's not the best argument for things, but he also a couple other defenders had angles on him. Wangu outran the angles, like Randy Moss in '98 against the Cowboys. That punt return you saw, Geno, I think it was Geno Stone was the Ravens defender, number 26. He had Wangu in his sights. Now, he didn't take the best angle. I think he played inside instead of playing outside and forcing Wangu to go inside. Anyway, whatever he did, Wangu outran him to the corner and got 9 yards out of it. The Vikings offense is struggling. We have this guy, Wangu, who is super, super fast. If we need a spark, it seems to me that providing him with some offensive snaps could give us that spark.
It opens the playbook. As Wayne says, use Kenny like other teams, like was it the Falcons use Cordell Patterson. You can use him in jet sweeps. You can use him maybe in screens. You can use him in all different areas. Um, Wildcat, stuff like that. Just get him the ball, especially get him in space and watch him fly. And
Yeah, that's
and you were
exactly.
telling Clint, you know, don't be so conservative. Well, this I don't know if you'd call it conservative or not, but it's smart to get your playmakers the ball. So,
Exactly. And here's a guy. He's not going to make any plays for you standing over on the sidelines next to Kennedy Palomalu, your running
right.
backs coach. Uh, and I like Alexander Madison just fine, and I was singing his praises after the Seattle game and all of that. But maybe Wangu should be taking some of his snaps, although he's not getting a whole lot of them either. But we know Matty is a
Mm-hmm.
solid running back, but big plays are not the thing that he does. Wangu has got the speed to take it to the house every time he touches the damn ball. And the thing is, right now, opposing defenses have none, absolutely zero offensive tape on this guy because he has not played an offensive snap yet. He plays the special teams, and it's been 2 games, but that's not. He hasn't been out of the backfield. He hasn't been given the ball in running plays. None of those things. So they don't even know. They don't have tape to judge like how fast this guy is. The first time the Chargers are going to see how fast Wangu is and see what kind of moves he has and how difficult he is to tackle is when they play him tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
So, like you said, now get him out in space, get him the ball in space, see what happens. It can't be any worse than what we saw last week on many drives, and the week before against the Cowboys, and many other drives every other week. Right? Wangu as a catching threat, that's a big. That's a big question mark because he had a grand total at Iowa State of 7 catches in 4 years. So he didn't have get the ball in his hands a whole lot catching the ball. So I don't know how good of a receiver he is, but he's a professional and he's fast. Get him the ball somehow, like you said, like the Falcons do with Cordell Patterson.
Mm-hmm.
Now Patterson's much more experienced and than Wangu is, but again, you got a playmaker, you got a guy who's a big play threat. To not use him,
It's criminal.
especially when teams is criminal, especially when teams have no tape on him and have no idea how to defend him. Hey, I'd rather see again. He's a guy that could give us that spark. Imagine if he takes a screen pass for 50 yards and maybe it's not necessarily a touchdown, but that's a big play that on a play that usually goes right now is going for 3 or 4 yards max
Right.
to our other running backs. Maybe Wangu is the guy has got that juice that can provide a couple of 2 or 3 big plays that can swing the game in the Vikings' favor instead of what is happening most games where the other team makes those plays that swing the game in their favor.
Exactly.
Again, if you're not using the guy, you'll never know how good he is. And this is kind of one of the things that's frustrating for a lot of Vikings fans is that Courtney Cronin wrote in a story this week that before the Baltimore game, the Vikings had gotten the least amount of production out of their rookie class for the size
Mm-hmm.
of the class. Basically, until Darisaw started playing 3 games ago, get this, Amir Smith-Marset was the only rookie who was contributing at all.
Mm-hmm.
And he was only doing it on occasional kickoff returns. And that didn't last long either. So that we were getting a big fat 0 out of our rookie class. Now the Ravens game, Darisaw's in there the past 3 weeks. He's looking pretty good. We got Cameron Bynum doing what he did last week. We've got again, we got Wangu doing what he did on special teams.
Mm-hmm.
Time for some of these other guys to get involved too, like Chaz with Barr out.
Mm-hmm.
We're probably going to see Nick Vigil in there and Eric Kendricks most of the time. But I'd like to see Surratt play a little bit more. Let's see what he's got. He's a third-round draft pick, was very productive in North Carolina. Let's get some of
And
these
we'd
rookies out there and
all
see what they can
love
do.
to see Patrick Jones stuck into the rotation at defensive end. Maybe we can get some
Yep.
spark out of that. His strength
Yes,
is
because
pass rush. So he's supposedly a little undisciplined and doesn't know all the techniques. But if the motor's good enough, he's going to get there. So
just like Kenny Willekes's motor was running red hot against the Ravens,
and he's out
and
due to COVID.
Yep, that's right. And I didn't think we'd be saying this. You wouldn't have been saying this a few weeks ago, but with Hunter out for the season and the way Willekes has played in the 2 games that he has played, that's a pretty significant loss for the Vikings defensive line right now, which the pass rush against the Ravens did not look at all like it missed anything without Hunter. They were very effective in the pass rush, got a lot of pressure, I think 23 pressures on the Ravens in that game.
Which is
Griffin
good.
had 6. Yeah, Griffin had 6. Armin Watts had 5, and then Willekes had 4. So somebody else is going to have to step up where Willekes had stepped up, and maybe it's Patrick Jones. I don't think it's going to be Eddie Yarbrough.
Unfortunately, Wayne, that is true. They care how good you look in practice. It's a beauty contest, and it's part of old school. You got to pay your dues, get up there, and you've got to be able to do what you're required to do in practice. I understand that portion of it. But I suspect we're going to see Patrick Jones this week because Willekes is out.
Yeah.
You're talking about Christian Darrison, how well he's played. Well, I've got the rankings up for our offensive line. And if you notice, I've swapped out Garrett Bradbury for Mason Cole, who had a decent game last week. He scored higher than all of, 4 games in Garrett's career. And I'm curious if he can keep that up.
Yeah, well, we'll find out for one more week if he will keep it up. What I'd be curious is if the Vikings offense is successful tomorrow, particularly in the run game, but I guess pass blocking too. It's important that you're good at both. But if the Vikings offense is very effective, and Cole gets good grades again, even though Zimmer's trashed PFF before, saying they don't know what the guys are being asked to do, so how can they grade them? But I think you can. It's easy to grade guys who obviously get blown up and, and give up pressures and that sort of things, regardless of what their assignment was. If they're getting blown up at the line of scrimmage, getting pushed back, that ain't good, and that happens a lot with Garrett Bradbury, it seems. I think that what would be interesting to see is if Bradbury gets his starting job back, because for 3 years now, Viking fans, again, we're not elite football minds, we don't know nothing, but we've been saying that Bradbury has not played very well, and rankings from PFF agree with us 110%.
And the PFF grades there are the composites. They're not the ranking, because I don't have visibility on where they rank the offensive line as a whole. But there's their composite numbers for run and pass blocking. Now, the DVOA... Well, I can tell you,
they're ranked 24th by PFF in the league.
And the run and pass blocking for DVOA, you can see is different. That they haven't run block well, but they pass block great. And I think for the DVOA, they take into the fact that Kirk's only been sacked 10 times? Something like that. It's a real low number.
10 times. Yeah, it's 10 times. And
not pressured that often.
If they keep on this pace, or the Vikings do, it'll be the least that Cousins has been sacked in any time in his career since he's been a starter. The least since before this one, if it ends up being around 20, he was sacked 23 times his first year as a starter in Washington. Back then they had Trent Williams and a few other people. Much better.
And they didn't start out with Rashad Hill on the side. So
but the thing that is a big is going to be a big key tomorrow, I think, is that when Raymond's showing up, way to go. Thanks for showing up, Raymond. Was again, you showed those rankings earlier at the beginning of the show, which Raymond didn't see, but talking about how the Chargers run defense is poor, 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 even worse than the Vikings run defense is. But that the Vikings offensive line run blocking, and it's up there with Football
Mm-hmm.
Outsiders, is also poor, poor, poor. What if the Vikings? I think, considering that the Chargers' pass defense is the strength, you would think this would be kind of a game where the Vikings could get something going with the run game. Unlike what happened in the Ravens game last week, yeah, Cook had two big runs, and pretty much every other run was not much. We didn't
Mm-hmm.
get much out of the running game. You can't take away those two plays; they matter. But you'd like to see more consistency, more positive runs the vast majority of the time. We did not get that against the Ravens. Tomorrow, considering how poor the Chargers' run defense is, you would think that this would be an opportunity for us to do that. But I question whether the Vikings offensive line can pull that off. It seems to me that when opponents set out with strategies to shut down the Vikings run defense, whether it's put a
Mm-hmm.
safety in the, a
Right.
safety down in the box or run blitzes, that sort of thing, they stop our running game more often than not. And our offensive line can't exert its will on the opposing defense and get the running game going, even when that defense is trying to stop our running game. I want an offensive line. I was talking to somebody else about this early in the week. I want an offensive line like what Cleveland does. Teams try to stop Cleveland's running game, and Cleveland doesn't give a shit. They know they're going to they're going to run the ball anyway, and they run teams into the ground,
Right.
like
It's a more
into the ground.
powerful type line. And Mike
I
Zimmer asked for bigger, better bodies. What I found out interesting today, and I had to look it up because I wasn't quite sure. When I was looking up the stats here, I was looking for Mason Cole. PFF has Mason Cole listed as a tackle. I'm like, a tackle? He played center and guard at Arizona. Why you got him as a tackle? Then I had to
yeah,
go back. You know what school Mason Cole played for?
he played for the Michigan Wolverines.
Yes, our buddy Drew does. You got that. Michigan. And what positions did he play at Michigan?
I thought he played center and guard at Michigan, but you're probably going to tell me he played tackle.
He started out at center. They moved him out to left tackle. He played left tackle for most of the time, and then they moved him back to center for part of his senior year. That was it. He's a tackle, or was a tackle. So, do you know what that means? It means the transformation is complete. We've got all five guys across the line that played tackle in college. It is what it is. It's different. So
Yeah, but that transformation was not made by our coaching staff, though. The Arizona coaching staff did that for Cole, as
right.
opposed to us doing it, like turning a tight end into a guard or whatever the hell they do. But I really question whether the Vikings offensive. I don't know whether it's because we're not physical enough, or it's the blocking scheme, but we just don't seem to be able to, like when other teams go to like a heavy package and put three tight ends in and an
Mm-hmm.
extra offensive lineman in, and plus the five that they got, they seem to be able to push the pile, especially when they're
Right.
facing our run defense. When we try to do that, we don't get anywhere. We just get stuffed with a TFL, tackle for a loss, or we don't get the first down. And you've usually got Dalvin Cook back there. You can't tell me that that guy can't get you at 1 yard if he's got even like an inch to get
Right.
through. So I'll be really interested to see tomorrow if the Vikings offensive line can open up the holes consistently for our run game, whoever's in there, whether it's Madison, Cook, or Wang Chung, and get that offense rolling. Because really, when we get into a 2nd and 8 or a 2nd and 9, that seems to be just the killer for our offense. They have a hard time
Mm-hmm.
overcoming those long down and distance situations. At least that's how I see it. They also lately have had a hard time overcoming short down and
Down
distance
and distance.
situations.
They
But
have a hard time
you know,
overcoming. That's just that simple.
yeah, yeah. So the offensive line, if they can, put in a performance like they did last year against that team from Wisconsin at Lambeau, where we just ran the ball down their throat. That's hard to do consistently, but if they can do it tomorrow and keep the Chargers offense off the field a fair bit, then maybe the result will be different than we've seen in recent weeks.
Now, last thing to ask you. What's your score prediction? Who do you think's going to win tomorrow?
You know, Dave, I had a hunch. I still have a hunch that the Vikings are going to win this game, and my feeling was that they've had such tough luck in most of the games this year, and it's going to be a close game. I have no doubt about that. It's probably going to come down to the last drive or two. I have no doubt about that. But I have a hunch that the Vikings are going to win this one, and then next week they're going to lose to the Packers at home. Just to
Oh God!
no. Just get your hopes up and then dash those hopes. That's what the Vikings do, especially the last couple of years. But again, you're looking at the NFC playoff picture. We're at 3-5, but
we're still
the number
in
7.
It.
We're still in
game
it.
back.
Like Atlanta is 4-4, and then Carolina's 4-5, and those are the teams that are ahead of us.
Mm-hmm.
And we've already beaten Carolina.
Right.
And then New Orleans, which is 5-3, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Who knows where they're going to go with, because
Winston now.
They don't have Winston's out. Are they using Taysom Hill, or are they using Trevor Siemian? Tomorrow, Alvin Kamara's out. So where's their offense going to come from? They could go into a big dive themselves. Tailspin. So if a team can get hot here, say that team's the Vikings, start reeling off some wins, all of a sudden you're in the playoff picture. I guess the bigger question is, do you really want the Vikings in the playoff, the number 7 seed? Then you got to go up against Tampa Bay or the Packers or whoever, and you get smoked on the road. And then maybe
you're still drafting 20th or 25th or whatever.
You're still drafting 20th. Maybe you've got the same coaching staff, same GM, because you made the playoffs. Woo-hoo-hoo-hoo, big deal.
Then we start this all over again further.
Yeah, we start it all over again, and we're talking about the same shit next year. Is that what we want?
We will see. The only good thing is if they do that, they get in the playoffs and then suddenly get on a hot streak and make it all the way to the Super Bowl, and then there'll still be people calling for Zimmer's head. But with that,
I didn't give the score though, so I'm going to go Vikings 27, Chargers 26.
Ooh, it is close. Okay, cool. Take some hallucinogens. Daniel, that is a very good, very good prescription in case that happens. Yes.
Let me know where I can get some magic mushrooms or something.
Magic mushrooms, peyote, a little bit of LSD, stuff like that. Works great. Not that I've ever tried it. I've been told. Wade says there won't be a hot streak. Well, we'll find out. Hey, guys, we have this base group of people that watch us every day, right? Or 6 days a week that we have shows. Raymond, Mary, Wayne, Daniel, all you guys plus more.
Where the hell's Viking Jerome? Jeez,
I know. Jerome missed us today, too. Steven from Down Under. I mean, you guys have been fabulous. Make sure you smash that like button because the algorithm helps and it spreads the show, which can hopefully grow the family. I know you guys are all subscribed, so ringing the bell doesn't matter. But if you aren't, please ring the bell. But do smash that like button. We appreciate it. And tomorrow, make sure to join us right before the end of the game because we go live before that final whistle for the final score. And we have, hopefully, if everything works right, because SoFi Stadium is such high tech, we have multiple members of Climbing the Pocket and Luke Braun of Locked On Vikings that are in the stadium themselves seeing the game. Hopefully they will come on live from the stadium to join us for final score. And hopefully it's a good one. Hopefully we're celebrating a glorious victory, as we say over there. Any last words there, Darren?
My last words were making that big, I got a hunch prediction that the Vikings are going to win. I think, as most games have been this year, except for one, I expect it'll be a close one. I expect that the Vikings will have a 2-score lead at some point that they blow. I expect that the Chargers will somehow have the ball with the will have the ball at the very last drive with a chance to win it, and somehow it won't happen this time.
Well, the Chargers, their fans and their media have been complaining their games have been close all season long, just like the Vikings, and they always keep it close. Well, let's hope this one's real close.
Two very even teams.
Yeah. Let's hope this one's a blowout.
Different strength.
Surprise us.
Well,
if not, if it's close, let's at least win the game. With that, everybody stay safe, be happy, stay healthy, drink your favorite beverage of all, of whatever it is. Enjoy your company, enjoy great food, and Skol Vikings! Let's win this game.
Skol Vikings.
Thank you for watching or listening. As always, if you like, subscribe, and ring the bell for notifications. And if you're listening to the podcast, please rate us on your favorite aggregator. Skol, everybody.